This is something that a lot of men go through when they start drinking alcohol, throughout their whole alcohol lives, and when they're trying to stop drinking alcohol. And it's certainly something that I went through. And this is when you believe that alcohol is attached to your masculinity. And there's one word that I want to put forward here, and it's not only in the sexual context, but it is in the life context, and that's impotence. You know, when I was growing up, there was a huge culture of hellraisers. I was brought up on movies by the likes of Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin, Peter O'Toole and Richard Harris, Oliver Reed, people like that, who it was a huge cultural thing for them to drink, and to drink a lot. I've always had this idea that it's very manly to drink a lot of beer, especially if you can drink a lot of beer without it appearing to affect you too much. One of my clearest memories of growing up was of a guy who was maybe 2 or 3 years younger than me when I first started drinking, and I could drink 2 or 3 pints at the time, and once those 2 or 3 pints had gone down, the room would start spinning and I would feel physically ill if I tried to drink any more than that. And he could drink much more than me, maybe 7, 8, 9 pints. And I used to always say to this guy, look how much it's costing you to get drunk, and look how much it's costing me to get drunk. But that was a face-saving thing, because secretly I was really jealous that this guy could handle as much alcohol as he could, and I couldn't. It meant in my mind that I was a kid, and no more than a kid. Now, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with being manly. I think there is just a better way of doing it. I think we've been conned into killing ourselves, basically committing slow suicide in order to fulfill this idiotic idea of being manly. The problem with this type of poisonous manliness is it detracts from the real manliness, you know, of you being a real father, being a real husband, being a hard worker, being somebody who thinks intelligently about what they're doing, somebody who looks after themselves on a daily basis, looks after themselves physically, mentally, spiritually. And in some ways, I think that that old idea of masculinity is dying a slow death. Now, there's a certain group of people who want to kill masculinity altogether. They think that anything masculine is toxic. Now, they're people with their own agenda, and to be honest, fuck them, you know, who gives a shit? I want to live up to that ideal manliness, that knight in shining armor, you know, not the kitschy type of stuff. The real guy who doesn't need to fill himself with toxins in order to talk to somebody. In fact, he is quite capable of resisting the pull of alcohol and any idiot who tries to push him in that direction, who is willing to stand up for his own principles and his own values and his own ideas and to push them forwards instead. Because I'm telling you one thing, if you can build solid values and principles, if you can build them up and you can hold on to them regardless of what anyone else says, you'll be a far happier person, more contented person. You'll be a much more balanced person in life. And I'm sure these principles are not just applicable to men, they're applicable just as much to women. There's more girls who are starting out drinking, there's more girls who are drinking much more now than there are boys in certain areas. And that's a sad state of affairs in anyone's book. I mean, women are physically less capable of handling the same amounts of alcohol as men. They just haven't got the size organs for it. I was talking to a nurse who was telling me there was more women coming in to hospitals nowadays under the age of 30 who had livers that were shot, completely shot, that needed liver transplants before they were 30. That is terrible. What we want is men with brawn as well as brains, who are willing to use those brains intelligently, right? Who are willing to think through their choices, to make good decisions, to think about what they're putting into their body, and to refuse things based on the fact that they're thinking more into the long term rather than just the short term. They're thinking about their effect not only on themselves but the people around them, especially their children. I'm all about trying to build habits that support you instead of habits that kill you. That's basically what we're talking about here. All right, take care of yourself. Watch this video next. I think you'll enjoy that one. Onwards and upwards. Bye now.